I thought it'd be fun to do a little impromptu video on broken color using the painting that I have on my easel. When I set up my studio, I wanted to make sure that I could just film whatever it was that was on the easel and help that to be lessons for students. And so I thought that I could use the Code Talker painting that I'm working on right now of John Kinsel, which is kind of just starting out. I just started out on his hands, and I thought that'd be a cool lesson to talk about broken color. Do like a quick 5-minute just painting this hand. This is John Kinsel. I think as far as I know, the oldest living code talker. And I'm looking at the hand, so I've started kind of building up some textures and surfaces and everything. So I'm gonna use some oleopasto in my mix. And I'm gonna build towards the light here in the painting. What that means is, I feel like I got a good sense of the halftones going. Mix in a little bit of some raw sienna in here. I want to cool that down a little bit. The highlights are kind of cool. These little bits of broken color. So what is broken color? So there's two different types of explanations of categories, I guess, of color when you paint. Local color and broken color. And I think of local color as being just generally like his shirt is yellow. So it's just giving a hue, a name to the hue of his shirt in a broad term, broad way. Almost a caricature of the color. Like the easiest way I could explain his shirt is what the local color is. Now, if you kind of zoom in, and I always use this example for students in class, is this idea that if you look at your hand and you just see so much color in your hand when you bring it up close to your face, right? You really can see warms and cools kind of interspersing with one another, mixing with one another. I always say that like warms and cools, different temperatures within the paint colors tend to vibrate. What I mean by that is it kind of a little bit of luminosity that kind of happens when you have these colors that are next to each other. Warms and cools, like pinks scumbled over top of green underpaintings and stuff you see that Rembrandt would do. And so for me, my paintings, because I want them to have life and blood underneath the skin and make them more than just paintings, make them kind of realistic, I want to make sure that I have that sense of broken color. Also, kind of, when you do broken color, putting colors next to one another in here that are warm and cool, and you just kind of feel it. It's not like a set formula of what color is going to go next to what color. And I use the reference just as kind of, again, reference of what I'm seeing. And I'm trying to push that in my mind to a little bit of a higher chroma place than what the reference would give me. This gets a little greener through here as this turns and gets a little bit more subtle. So in the beginning, when I started painting, like this is just a one-day block-in right here. This is very cursory, very explorative, a lot of guesstimates in here. And you can still see the gray of the panel kind of coming through. I start to load texture because the skin has so much beautiful texture in it. In these chromatic lights that I have that are in different temperatures, I got cools and warms that kind of, again, can help me move the halftones in these different temperature shifts. And I find it just makes the skin more interesting than if it was, quote unquote, blended out into one skin tone. I love this Cinnabar green light right here. It just has this bitiness to it, this acid, that is such a great undertone color. What I mean undertone is I see it in some of these skin tone mixes. And I've been doing on the channel lately some of these how to mix skin tones for different artists. And I isolate the skin tone to mix it just so that you guys can know my thought process on that. Hopefully that's helpful. And so I'm using kind of a brush that's kind of picking up the texture of the paint here and loading the brush up and coming over here and seeing how this gets a little lighter through here, just placing that paint down and just leaving it. And then putting some more value, bringing up the value in that mix into here, This gets warm as it turns. Right through here, a little warmer. Getting more towards a raw sienna. And putting that in. Really building up the texture of his skin as well as a uniqueness to the color. And I'm picking up in areas in here that are very, very hot. Now, in my brain, I can't paint every little wrinkle, you know? So I do step back a lot to kind of squint to see where areas are getting lighter and colder. This is a Video Blue Extra Pale from Vasari. Love that color. This comes in, I see that it just gets a little bit lighter. Now, it's not as light as the photo reference. Now, the photo reference was an outdoor photo that I took of John on his property. And so this whole scene existed right here. It's all not in one reference, but this painting, he's about life size in this picture, maybe slightly larger than life size. And he's such a remarkable individual, and he built his home by literally bringing timbers down from these mesas that are over here. Really inspirational. I'm very thankful that I got to meet him. This gets a little lighter, more orange. This twists. I'm also thinking a little bit about form with the way the strokes are being laid down. This gets a little colder and lighter through here. If you guys have any questions about this idea of broken color, feel free to ask them in the comments. I definitely try to answer everybody's comments if possible. Sometimes I don't know the answer, but I'll try to find it for you. A little bit of Galkid gel just to lighten up some of the color in here. This comes down and over. This gets a little bit, squinting at this whole ledge through here, gets a little lighter. Pulling that down. Right through there. Seeing a little bit of radiant green to lighten up what's going on down here. And you know, the cool thing about this is that you don't have to be afraid of putting the wrong color in the wrong place. If you look at my mix, I got reds, greens, yellows, all of these tonalities and color hues. People tend to ask us, painters, well, what was the formula that you used for this flesh tone? And I'm like, well, all these colors. Unfortunately, you know, it's really about having emotional responses to what it is we're seeing as we're seeing it, and placing that I see green right now. It's not rational as to why. And the value gets a little darker. So I use my earth colors to darken, which are the umbers right here. This is a burnt umber and this is a raw umber. And as you get slightly darker through here, and kind of just hatch that in. Not cross hatching, just hatching, just strokes. It's funny, I feel like I'm talking like Bob Ross. Happy little hatches. And right through here, but this, I feel like this method for me is pretty relaxing because I can't really screw up. I can really just explore what it is I'm seeing, my eye is seeing and perceiving, and what I'm putting down. And I can, again, oil paint is surprisingly more forgiving than we give it credit for. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about oil painting that people have, like it doesn't dry overnight, or it's really hard to work with, it's messy, it's super toxic. I think I'm going to do a video about the misconceptions about oil painting. I think that we can make oil painting really easier to do, to get our vision out. And I think it's just, again, finding the right teacher, looking at the right paintings, kind of tailoring what it is that you're trying to say in your temperament with painting that will make you successful. I think that there's so much dogma out there about painting that it kind of hampers students sometimes of how that they can go about it. So you got to be a little stubborn also. I think, to find your own way as an artist and a painter. This cuts in a little bit. So these really hard edge lines I have are like my milestones, I guess, or guideposts, information, and they're going to soften up as I go. But for right now, I'm leaning on those areas to help me draw better. So this comes over. This is so beautiful. He's got really amazing hands. I was told once that hands are also part of the portrait. Actually, Gail at Vasari Paint talked about how much she loved Rembrandt's hands, that they were just as important as the faces about getting to know somebody. And that was something that Gail at Vasari said to me that really stuck. Great showroom. If you guys can get to Vasari's showroom in New York City. I'm not sure if they've moved. They were on 26th Street in Chelsea. Go look at some great art at the galleries. Go check out some paints. And they have a mixing table there that you can try out anything. It's pretty awesome. And Gail knows so much about color. You always learn something while you're there. A little bit of that video blue, kind of seeing it peek through here. Soften up this edge in here. This edge is softer. Guides in that this is going to get darker. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you find this content valuable, please like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm get my videos out there. In celebration of just hitting 50,000 subscribers on here, which is mind-blowing to me, I'm doing a raffle for a recent demo that I did at the Scottsdale Artist School of my friend Alejandro. You can find out details in the description below on how to enter. I think it's $25 a ticket. Also, a great way to support the channel is through Patreon. $5 a month adds up to about $60 a year. Helps me to make these videos better over time. I'm always posting things over there that I find interesting. I posted a Dan Green demo from the Art Students League just yesterday. Beautiful demo they did in about 2.5 hours. So just kind of extra behind the scenes stuff that I'm looking at in the studio, inspiration, all that stuff is on the Patreon page and super affordable. And again, it helps me to make these videos and keep the lights on. Thanks again, guys. Take care and paint well. Cheers.